When I was in my younger years, probably in my 20s, I found out that a classmate of mine married someone from a different background, culture, country, and they didn't speak the same language at all. She didn't speak his language and he didn't speak her language. And they got married, they had kids, they lived their lives. And I remember being so fascinated by that. How are they doing that? How are they functioning? Now, nearly 30 years later, or how many ever years it is, I'm kind of like, okay, there are different ways to communicate. There are different kinds of language. Last summer, I made a video on this channel, and it was called something like The Body Doesn't Judge, or something like that. And what I was talking about was just the basic somatic truth of a moment. Like, this is what my throat feels like right now. This is what my temples feel like right now. This is where I am right now. It's irrefutable. It just is. And when we're able to focus on the physicality of a moment, focus on the sensations we're experiencing, focus on our surroundings and what we're seeing, hearing, smelling. There's a way that we experience life beyond words. Words, I think the reason why I'm so drawn to this work is that I've always been a word person. I am a word person. I knew that I was a writer when I was 5. It's funny, I've always envied people who said, oh, I knew when I was 8 I wanted to be an attorney, or I wanted to be a this, or I wanted to be a that. And I didn't realize that I had that already. I went through my whole life not realizing that I had something like that because I didn't identify it as anything special or unique or noticeable. But I have been a word person since I was little, and I got a bachelor's in journalism, words. I got a master's in communications, more words. And I then got another master's, and that master's was in design. So less words. But what was interesting for me as a designer, because I became a designer in the 90s, and when I became a designer, it was right on the brink of that switch over from mechanical, manual ways of doing things to digital, technological, computer-based ways of doing things. I was right there. It was 1993 when I started that work as a student, as a graduate student, in 1995 when I graduated. And between 1993 and 1995, I had internships and freelance work, and I didn't wait to get started. So by the time I got out in 1995, I had a portfolio and I was kind of feeling like, okay, let's go. And that was such a tangent. Anyway, the point I'm making is that when I did my projects, when I did my work at that time, I started with words because I'm a word person. I would start with words, adjectives, like let's say I was working on a logo, or let's say I was working on a publication design. It really didn't matter. Whatever it was, I would start with words that inspired visuals. So I'd start with a list of adjectives, and then I would move on to little thumbnail sketches And then I would move on to the actual beginning of the work. Well, the producing of the deliverable, as we used to call them. So the words always gave me that starting point, and I've always been a word person. I come from a long line of word people. I come from a long line of people who value language, poetry, literature, discourse, debate, philosophy, thinking things through, pulling thoughts apart. Those are my people that I came from. That this is my lineage, my family lineage. So I am a word person. And here I am at 56 years old, really completely immersed in conversations about the physicality of life, the body, the awareness of the body, living life in a body, the lens of the body as a way of viewing things and thinking about things. And that's my little that's a piece of my origin story, a piece of my background. I'm thinking about that because I'm here at this stage of my life, and I've done a lot of things. I've written a lot for different companies, institutions, individuals, organizations over the last several decades. I've done graphic design work. I've done coaching. The first person I coached when I was in my 30s. And from there, I've been coached. And then I wrote my book, Trust Yourself with Money, and I coached people around money angst and behavioral choices around money. And at that time, I became aware of somatic practices and this area, this realm that we call embodiment. And I just went deeper and deeper and deeper because it touched these areas that I cared about, like time. How am I functioning inside of my understanding of time? Like money. How am I making decisions based on my understanding of what money is and how it comes to me and how I manage it and how I think about it, how I feel about it. Relationships, everything, physical health, debt, autoimmunity. There's no area of my life that embodiment does not hold, support, or touch. And so I've been here experiencing it and looking for language to describe it. Hence the YouTube channel. And because of my understanding of life, I want to share with people. And because of my desire to do meaningful work for income, I am offering coaching spaces and teaching spaces and other ways to connect with those who want to go deeper with this work. One of the things I'm thinking about today is the tendency that I have to intellectualize emotion, to intellectualize life, to intellectualize my bodily experiences. And that's why I'm bringing up that video from last year. The video was about how doing somatic practices allows me to have some relief from the chatter of my mind, from the judgment. I do feel like embodiment work generates a kind of organic de-shaming. I don't have anything academic or technical to say about shame. I've heard a lot of definitions and descriptions. None of them are top of mind. I just know what it feels like in my body when shame comes up. And for me, there are regular triggers: money, identity, whether or not I am perceiving that I'm approved of. That's a big one. Figuring out where I stand in someone else's eyes. That's a big one for me. Those are things that trigger an experience of shame, and it feels a certain way in my body. I can feel it. And so when I do my embodiment practice of dropping my shoulders, in the moment of experiencing shame, I will feel grief come up. I will feel reluctance come up. I might feel a freeze response coming on, where I feel weighted down. I feel heavy. I feel like I can't move. And the practice of allowing myself to feel it, to feel all of the shades of that feeling of shame, of not enoughness, of being disapproved of being misunderstood. The decision to allow myself to feel that is part of what begins to melt the freeze. I want to say on the other side of it, but it's not quite like there are two sides of it and I'm going through it and now I'm on the other side. It's not quite like that. But as the shamey, freezy response starts to break apart and melt, what I'm left with is a deepened capacity for life, for being alive, for being in it, for feeling. What I'm left with is an increased capacity, an increased sense of willingness to be here and to live and to experience all of the things that life brings to me. I was thinking about how everything looks different through a somatic lens, through the lens of embodiment. All of the human experiences that I'm used to having look different through that lens. So for example, I was thinking about the whole concept of secrets. I was with some friends a few years ago, and one of the women there that I have known for a really long time was telling a story and just offhandedly made a comment about how someone I dated one of my friends. Now, this is decades ago. We were all young, teens, 20s. I never knew this. I had no clue that this happened. No clue, like zero. So here I am now in my, big age. And I'm hearing this and I'm like, what? I typically have a great poker face. My face just goes dead. So I probably didn't let on how surprised I was to learn this, but I was surprised and shocked, and I thought about it for a day or two after I learned it. And I had to kind of adjust to the reality that this had happened. However, what I think about now in, almost 5 years deep into my embodiment practice is that that fact was always so. That fact was always true. That fact was always real. That was the truth was always there. I just didn't know it. So what has really changed, actually? I think that what's beautiful, powerful, supportive, nourishing, resourcing about an embodiment practice is that at the base of it is this deepened capacity for reality, for real life, for whatever that is for you, for me. And feeling like, okay, like I can handle this. I am handling this. And I know I'm handling it because I'm still here. So I can handle it. So when I keep saying drop your shoulders, drop your shoulders, drop your shoulders, wiggle your toes, relax your jaw, into all of that, relax your shoulders into the crisis, relax your shoulders into the opportunity, relax your shoulders into the truth, relax your shoulders into the discovered secrets, relax your shoulders into the dreams, relax your shoulders into the fears, relax your shoulders into all of it. We're pairing a physicality with the sense making. That's what we're doing in an embodiment practice. We're pairing physicality with sense making. Somewhere in here, there's an organic de-shaming. Somewhere in here, there's a cultivation of a kind of compassion, tenderness, acceptance. I can't tell you exactly how that works in a mechanical, linear way. I just know that I'm experiencing it month after month, year after year. And I'm deepening into it. I'm noticing it. I'm noticing places where I add layers of complexity and suffering because of the way I may be making sense of a situation. When I drop back into my body, I get some relief because my body does not judge. My body just says, oh, the tears are coming, and the tears are there. That's it. The body says, okay, there's the constriction in the temples. Here we go. Headache. Here we are. And okay, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to relax my body. I'm going to unbrace. I'm going to uncrinkle the grimace in my face. I'm going to relax and feel. And okay, 3 minutes later, 5 minutes later, looks like that tension just left on its own. Okay, that too is fine. It's like the flow of reality is happening. There are ways that I can insert myself and do practices that allow me to feel a little bit more well-being. And there are times where I just have to feel what's happening and I can't necessarily fix or change it. And all of that is the flow of life. All of that is held by my embodiment practice. So if we haven't met before, my name is Bridget. I am the host of Thriving in Plain Sight. On my podcast, we do an embodiment practice every week. I think it's something worth doing. I want as many people as possible to know about it, They can try it out and see what happens. Yes, I'm a word person, but the narratives, sometimes we need to set them down and we need to feel. And these simple practices are a way of stepping back from intellectualizing emotion and our lived experience and just feeling it. And in the feeling of it, we deepen our capacity for it. I'm also an embodiment coach, and I hold space for people who are really hungry for a more embodied approach to life, work, and being in the world. So thank you for being with me again, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.